This is the eProdigy Jasper, and it shares a lot of similarities to the eProdigy Banff. It's easy to mount, it's kind of a step through, sort of a cruiser, upright, but a little bit more masculine. You know, it doesn't have this front rack with a wicker basket or that rear rack. It's very sleek and elegant. This is 19 versus 16 frame, so slightly larger. And the motor is also more powerful. So eProdigy has updated their motors. Instead of being 350 watt mid-drive, this is 450 watt. You definitely notice it, but it's still relatively quiet. And speaking of noise, this bike, even though it does have front and rear fenders, much quieter than the Banff just because of those baskets not being there. So the battery has also been updated. It's using lithium-ion cells like before, but this time around it's using Sony and Samsung cells, so a little bit higher quality, and it's 36 volt, 11 amp hours instead of 9 amp hours. So that's really cool. Still removable, easy to take with you or charge off the bike, reduce the weight, that kind of thing. You've got a good setup here, and this bike's about $3,000 as is. It uses an 8-speed trigger shifter with the Shimano Altus hardware in the back, which is like, you know, decent. And this is sort of standard what we're looking at here, right? You could upgrade for an extra $1,000. You can get the new Vinci Harmony transmission that automatically shifts gears for you. So you sort of just set your pedal cadence and it detects, you know, changes in terrain, like whether you're pushing harder because you're climbing a hill, for example, or you're pedaling faster because you're going down a hill. It automatically adjusts for you. So that's really neat, especially when paired with a mid-drive, right? Because you're able to leverage different systems in the rear, like a hub geared system or that CVT. Just kind of neat. And with this bike, you'll notice there is a quick release in the rear as well as the front. It's really easy to service these wheels and these tires, again, because of that mid-drive motor. So the tires that we're looking at here, they're kind of these hybrids. You've got that nice reflective sidewall, 700C, and you know, gonna be efficient, but still a little bit more squishy than a road bike tire. So 700 by 38C, what I'm seeing there. It's also supported by this nice suspension fork. It's a little bit upgraded SR Suntour Next. It's not super burly because this is more of a hybrid around town kind of a bike, but it does still have lockout, and it's variable, it's adjustable, so you can sort of reduce the bounciness or go all the way to lockout if you want with that. And then check it out, there's like a seat post shock too, so you got some nice cushion, and even the saddle, really designed for comfort. Up here, Cockpit is beautiful. This new LCD display is really big, really easy to see, and it's backlit. So you can actually hold the up arrow for a couple seconds. That'll activate the front light, which runs off the battery pack. It'll also backlight the display. Very cool. The display shows you your assist level, 1 through 5. At any time, you can gun it with the throttle. Whew, and get that thing going. So you've really got two options in terms of driving, and you're going to be able to, I don't know, just tell how fast you're going, even the temperature, how much battery power is left. Unfortunately, this doesn't swivel really easily, and it's permanently attached. Even though it seems a little wiggly, it's really permanent there. And that's sort of you know, it's nice to take the display off if you leave this parked outside or whatever, but quite a few bikes are going with permanent displays, and so I guess that's how that works. The pedal assist, you know, there are 5 modes as mentioned, uses this nice cadence sensor back here. So these little metal magnets pass this sensor and activate the motor, and it seems pretty smooth to me. You know, it's got a good number of sensors in there. I was trying to count them earlier. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's probably about six sensors, and that's maybe a little less smooth or instantaneous than torque sensing, but what it means is that you don't have to push hard in order to activate the motor. And I kind of like that, especially for a bike like this. While we're down here, we've got these nice 160mm disc brakes, front and rear Tektro levers, kind of basic, but they do have a power cutoff to the motor, so you're not going to be fighting the motor. Here's the throttle, and as you can see, the handlebars up here are really nice. They're relaxed, they're swept back, and they've got these big oversized ergo grips. Even got an adjustable stem. This isn't the quick adjust one, tool free. You do have to use a tool, and over time, if you're going off curbs and stuff, this could get a little loose, so keep that in mind when you're riding this thing around. That's kind of it, you know, there's really a lot to say about this bike. It's feature rich. The rack is standard gauge tubing right here. It's got these blockers on the side, which is really nice, including this plastic shield. So, you know, if you're riding this with a kilt or dress or something, or you've got some panniers, it's just going to keep them from getting snagged on these spokes, which is you know, great. Going around town using this to get to work or the library or something. And again, this blocker on the side. It's just an elegant looking bike, and it's not quite as rear heavy as a hub motor would be, even though the battery is up high and in the back. Some of the weight is brought down with that mid-drive motor. And I like the Wellgo pedals are solid. They're some of my favorites just because they're oversized, they match, they've got good grip, they're metal. That's kind of it. Let's hop on this thing and, you know, show the motor a little bit and see what we can do. Oh, the kickstand is great too, really big. And it's worth noting that this can go a little bit faster than some of the other bikes, probably, you know, maybe 25 miles per hour. It doesn't seem to have like that 20 mile per hour strict cutoff. The mid-drive, depending on which gear you're in, you know, it gets you going a little bit, which, you know, is decent. It's nice to have both options. And the frame is a little less stiff than something like the Whistler. You know, there are a couple other eProdigy bikes that have the diamond frame, you know, with a bar across, but that's part of the benefit of being able to just mount it super easy like that. I'm actually gonna try to climb this hill. I'm in assist level 5. I'm gonna start out with throttle only. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. There we go. And you can see it turns on and shuts off pretty quickly with that cadence sensor back there. And I'm not, you know, not having to work too hard to do this. Woohoo! Yeah, and I was in a relatively easy gear. That's the thing about mid-drives. You're leveraging the cassette in each one of those sprockets. So for climbing, you're empowering the motor. It's not having to, you know, work overtime to get you up the hill. But when you're shifting, there is a little bit more complexity, because if you're pedaling, like I am now, then I shift, it's not just my legs pulling on the motor, it's also the motor. And this one isn't quite sophisticated enough to know that you're shifting gears, and so it can mash a little bit more. I'm gonna try to demonstrate that if I can here. Gotta say, not too bad. Shifts really well. So yeah, very cool. It's the new eProdigy Jasper. It does come in 3 colors, black, white, and red. It's that 19 frame, pretty solid, good for someone maybe, you know, my size, versus the BAMF for someone a little bit smaller. So good stuff. This is a Canadian company. For more info on this bike and others, check out ElectricBikeReview.com.